What's going on, guys? Stefan.
This is Michael.
This is Brandon.
Welcome back to Archives. Today, welcome back to Archives, guys. Sorry about the malfunction. Today, we will be going over Young Avengers, one of my personal favorites. Great series. This team came about, it was like, 2005-ish? Around, it was like an aftermath of Avengers Disassembled by Byron Bendis. And the Avengers disbanded because of a situation. I won't go into the specifics, but because of that event, this was the fallout. So let's jump into it, shall we?
Yes.
I love it.
All right.
Love it.
One of my favorite books.
Yes. Heinberg,
sorry guys.
Jim
Alan
Cheung.
Heinberg and Jim Cheung. Great team.
Seriously,
So we're open.
Cheung's amazing.
No.
His art's some of my favorite stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I used to see a lot of him when I was young. He had to grow on me. I think Young Avengers made him grow on me, but like I remember him finally in like late 90s X-Force. Like I think it was like the 90s.
Totally forgot about that.
Yep.
Yeah,
And at the
there we
time,
go.
I remember thinking like, oh, you know, it's funny because him and Frank Quitely had the same effect on me. Like it's like the same expressions, but I love them now. Like I think they're very unique
Yeah,
and
they
distinct.
kind of have that like that dry rub edginess, and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
great. Like,
Yeah.
like, they probably draw some of the best faces.
Oh yeah.
I completely agree. I personally like Frank. Like they both evolved since their early days, right? They both definitely evolved in two very distinct
Absolutely.
styles.
Yeah.
Like especially when he was doing Scott Snyder's Justice League recently on Rebirth. Like
I would even throw Gary Frank in there too.
Go Gary Frank. Gary Frank stuff. His stuff's gotten a lot darker, and I like it. I like it a lot. Like especially whenever he works with Jeff Johns, like that stuff just works.
Perfect
That creative team just works.
Yeah. But let's get into the book.
Oh,
That introduced a whole new cast of characters. Is you know, like we said, it's really setting the tone for what's to come. The outcome of Avengers is assembled. We're in the wreckage, and it birthed a new young generation of heroes, and we're here to learn about them and tell you guys. But real quick, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. We're here at Link. We're here with Michael, so you're gonna be seeing a lot more of them. So their links are in the description below. And if you're sick of them, too bad, 'cause you're not going to be after this video. Let's get into the issue.
So, you know, we open up first page and it is a newspaper headline of the Young Avengers in action. And it shows someone's asking who are the Young Avengers, right? We turn the page and it's the beloved J. Jonah Jameson. You know, he loves his teenage heroes, his heroes in general. He's talking to Jessica Jones and Kat. Was it Kat Stacks? Is her name?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Cat.
And so he's just asking, like, who are these Young Avengers? Like, they're a bunch of young kids running around posing as Avengers. It has been Avengers. And so Kat and Jessica are like, you know, I know just as much as you. They just kind of popped on the scene. And so, of course, J. Jonah Jameson wants to be the first one to uncover who these kids are, get to the bottom of it, make the Daily Bugle the #1 newspaper in New York.
Of course.
And so he's asking, huh?
I said, what a dick.
I know. So he just wants pictures of Spider-Man.
Right. These are the new Spider-Man for him. So he puts Kat and Jessica on the job. Well, he's trying to convince Jessica to do it for him. And so she's like, why do you think I can do it? And so he's like, oh, you know, Luke Cage, and he's got connections with Cap and Iron Man. She's like, we're not that connected. And so he's like, well, maybe that's not the case, but maybe, you know, you can talk to him because you used to be a teenage superhero, you know, yourself, named Jewel. And so they give a little shot of her in action. And so he convinces her. And so it's Kat and Jessica on the case of trying to discover what the Young Avengers are all about.
I found the dialogue in this whole scene very rewarding to the reader, simply because you're introduced to, okay, well, why are they posing as the Avengers? How do they get access? Right, kind of answering some early on questions you would have by seeing a new team. Like we would automatically see, like, okay, well, she's like the person posing as Captain America is wearing Bucky's old costume. You know, not really any of the new stuff. So I thought, like, just little bits and pieces like that Heinberg and Cheung established in the dialogue early on just is inviting, and it's just very fresh.
I agree.
Yeah. No.
Oh, sorry. So, you know, Kat and Jessica walking outside of the Daily Bugle to get on the case, and who's waiting for her? Cap and Iron Man. They asked to have a word with her. So they fly off in style as they always do. So their next shot or next page is of Jessica Jones, Cap, Iron Man talking on a roof, and so they're pretty much asking what J. Jonah Jameson was asking, like, who are these young kids? And she's like, guys, I know just as much as you. Why does everyone keep coming to me for this? Like, I'm not the it person. And so they're just pretty much discussing like the course of action, how they should, do about the kids. And she's like, I'll contact you guys if I know anything. So the next scene is at it shows there's at a wedding at a cathedral, right? There's police surrounding it, so you can tell like there's some crime going on. Get a quick shot, and we see that there's some guys in tux holding the wedding hostage. And a little cool bit. This was really cool and minute to me because I didn't really peep this until going back to reread it. That Kate Bishop is actually the first Young Avenger we see on panel. Sorry, guys. I'm
right there. You got it.
Mm-hmm.
There she is. There's the future Mrs. Link.
And but that's cool because well, she wasn't the first one we saw on screen in the MCU, but she's the first one to be like a mainstay, get her own show kind of thing, like be a main character. Right. So I thought that was like a cool synergy right there that Marvel went out of the way to do. So that was
good. That's a really cool observation.
Yeah.
Actually.
Right.
So Kate Bishop is being a smart mouth to the guy with guns. It's establishing earlier on that Kate Bishop is like a leader who doesn't, she doesn't take crap in the face of adversity.
This book is full of saucy teenagers. That's
yes. If that's
this book is like it's obviously full of teen angst because it's a teen book, but like it doesn't go over the board. You're not annoyed by any of these characters at all. But you get that kind of like classic teen angst feel too, so you kind of like get that nostalgia factor too.
Right.
Awesome.
I think there are only a handful of people that can write that, and like Peter David, I think, is one of them. Alan Heinberg is one of them.
Totally.
Who else is one of them? Mark Waid is one of them. Robert Kirkman.
Bendis writes good teenagers, of course.
Yes, before DC, yes, but
Jeff Johns probably too. His Teen Titans run was really good.
Yep. But there are a handful of. I think I'd almost say there's like a specific Mount Rushmore.
Sure.
Who can capture the youth, and this book is a pure embodiment of how to give each of these own teenagers their own life and kind of captivate the struggles that teenagers go through. While it's not like adult struggles, but they're learning how to grasp the world and get it while getting to know themselves. Keep in mind that these years are very
formative
to them. And how they learn themselves. That's really where they get to know themselves the most, is these years.
Totally.
And that's a constant theme of this book, is that self-discovery.
Nice observation. I like that. So going back to the wedding cathedral, Kate's being a little smart aleck, and next thing we know, we get a nice splash page of the guys in action.
Hoorah!
Yeah, I just love their designs. Actually, like Iron Lad, I love his design because it's kind of got the whole Kang thing already, where he's got the mask that can move it. That was a cool little shout out. Young Avengers are jumping into action, trying to take
Who are the Young Avengers?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. All right.
Yeah, who do we have so far?
So far we are introduced to Iron Lad, as Guardian. We got Patriot right here and Hulkling. Should we get into the specifics of them, or you guys want to?
Let's specify.
So Iron Lad is clearly a shout out to Iron Man, but he's actually the teenage version of Kang the Conqueror, who came back from the future because he found out he was going to be a villain and didn't want to do that. And so we'll find that out later. And the other Avengers the other Young Avengers have ties to Avengers history. Patriot is the grandson of Isaiah Bradley, who was the first Captain America. Wiccan is the son of Scarlet Witch, one of the twins. If you know her history, you know she had twins. And then Hulkling is actually the son of Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel. And I don't remember his mom's name, but she was a Skrull Empress, something like that.
She was like the next in line. Yeah, she was like the princess.
You know where we got that link from? You know where that was retconned?
What?
Empire.
Yeah, Empire. Oh, okay.
What do you guys have against that book? You know what? We're gonna do an Empire's deep dive one of these days, and we're gonna go.
I wanted to like that book so bad. I wanted to. I did.
Same. Man. It wasn't bad, but I just wanted to like it so much more.
I enjoyed it.
it wasn't. I'm glad you. I don't want to. I'm not trying to take away from that, but I just.
I enjoyed it. That's
good.
Oh my gosh.
But so back to the action. Young
Yes.
Avengers are doing their thing, taking these guys down. They're doing all right so far.
they're reckless. They're very reckless.
They're a little they're a little
yeah,
sloppy. You know,
Oh, yeah.
they don't really have too much training.
I mean, you
And
can
they're
tell that
kinda-
from like the first like introduction when they're
So-
crashing
yeah.
through the window. Hulkling has like the biggest smile on his face, like he's
Yeah,
ready.
it's just,
like that's
you know,
not a planned
let's go,
smile.
let's go,
It's just like
yeah.
let's just go screw this up. Like, we got this, team. Like not really,
It's-
but we'll see.
You know,
Only way in is through the roof, motherfucker.
Through the roof,
right.
Classic
Yeah,
Avengers
going with the
style,
bang.
right? So, yeah. Yeah, it makes
So
sense.
they start like fumbling, tripping over each other's feet, whatnot, and so somehow they let the bad guys get the upper hand on them, and who saves the day? Well, not really saves the day, but kind of provides them the distraction they need to gain the upper hand. Kate Bishop. Turns out she's not a damsel in distress. She's very equipped to deal with many situations. She's kind of an adrenaline junkie. Not really, but she, very confident.
Like
So-
I said earlier, the future Mrs. Link.
They thwart that because of her. They stop the crime, and everyone's like, "Yo, what just happened?" And they're walking outside the church, and there's news reporters, and they're like, "Who are you guys?" And like, "That's the Young Avengers. It's the new, people have heard about them." And so they're like, "Yo, guys, we got to get out of here before the police start asking questions. Let's take off." So they take off. They go and they what is the word? Oh my
They
gosh.
rendezvous.
At the Avengers Mansion, which is now destroyed because of the events of Avengers Disassembled.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
think
not-
we
Sorry.
should make sure that it's pretty well for anyone listening. Like
Yeah.
this is how big of a deal this is that they're running around. Like the world knows the Avengers are not
There's
together
no more.
anymore. Like
Yeah.
the public is in this kind of like unease. Their big hero team isn't really there anymore. You have the heroes; they're not like dead or anything, but like, I mean, some
Just
have
that
to go read
flawed-
Avengers
Yeah.
Disassembled.
Yeah.
But like there's this unease going on in the world right now. And so having this teen team show up that resemble their big heroes, it's kind of a thing. It's
Yeah,
a big
it's a
thing
big-
that people are talking about. So it's
Right.
that's
That
kind
was-
of
that
the
was like the
atmosphere we're
whole-
going into.
That was
Yeah.
really the whole thing of this time period was the Avengers they disassembled themselves, because of like the psychedelics that happened in Wanda, which is kind of a
Right.
central backstory to this
why-
because it was so public.
Yes.
What she did, it wasn't like they disassembled overnight, right? No, this was kind of this happened in the public
in front
eye,
of everybody,
not just to the readers, but to normal citizens. And Marvel
Within
at
the
the
universe.
time really did a good job that they really don't do nowadays, and that's capturing the eyes of the citizens
Yes.
in their books. If you read a Marvel comic book today, I think the only book that really has that is Daredevil.
Yeah.
But yeah, because other than X-Men, we really don't see the human side of things. You really just see the
no.
X-Men side of. But I guess that's what Jerry Dugan is doing more so, I guess. But I
Yeah.
digress anyway.
So we get
That's
back to the.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say like that's really like the whole thing is they see these new characters, they see these younger people who are taking the roles of people that retired or broke up, kind of like
Right.
Justin Timberlake left in
In
sync,
Yeah.
and they went bye real quick. That's what basically happened in a nutshell.
Real quick. But then there's that uneasiness because like their breakup was so public, and all those events that happened in New York that caused them the big breakup was very public. People saw
Yeah.
this and they know that this is what the Avengers has done,
Right.
and so they're like, "Do we trust this new thing going
This new
on?" And
incarnation, yeah.
they're kids too. What are they doing? And so
Yeah.
Where are
that's kind
their
of like that.
parents?
Like how good
That's
can
kind of
they
the
be?
attitude
Right.
that the city's having right now. So
Right.
that's kind of the thing why people are hiding and stuff like that.
Right.
Right.
Right. So they get back to the mansion. They're kind of going back and forth with each other about the mission and about how they tripped over each other's tree. It's a little bit more on edge than the other three members. He takes it a little bit more seriously than they do. So he's like, "Yo, I'm going home, guys. We need to practice." So Iron Lad's like, he'll be back. Just give him some time. He just needs to cool off.
Right.
And like, all right, guys, great time, great mission. We'll call it a night. Because I think Wiccan or Hulkling said they had homework or something, had to be home before curfew.
Right.
So, they call it a night. Next page shows Iron Lad walking into the remains of the mansion, which is just in horrible, horrible shape. and he's just looking around, and he says the Avengers quote, like, "Avengers assemble," and he hears someone say to him, like, "Funny you should mention that." He turns around, and it's Cap, Jessica Jones, and Iron Man, just like, "Yo, who are you?" And so,
Gotcha.
I got you, right? They're asking him questions because they're like, "Yeah, we've been seeing you around, hearing about you guys. Like, what's going on?" And he tells them he's, who are you, Iron Boy, Iron Kid? He's like, "I'm Iron Lad." They're like, even better. And so they're like, "Yo, what's with the armor?" And he's like, Cap actually goes to put his hand on his shoulder, and like his armor turns into like a bunch of spikes. And he's like, "It's from the 30th century." I don't know if he's telling me he's from the 30th century.
He said it was psychokinetic.
Psychokinetic, yes. And he's like,
Well,
"It responds to my
neurokinetic.
Neuro. No, psycho. Oh, yeah, neuro. They asked if it was psychokinetic.
Tony asked if it was psycho, and then he said, "No, it's neurokinetic."
Yeah. It responds to his
what
thoughts.
Talking to me like that with that attitude? Okay, old man.
And so the next page, the last page, after he tells him he's got armor from the future, he's like, he says this armor is high tech. It's because I'm from the 30th century. And he's like, "My name is Kang." And then we see it's a young version of Kang the Conqueror.
And I honestly thought the dialogue in here, when they were all kind of arguing over the mission, was kind of like you're getting to know their personalities. You get to see the uneasiness with Patriot and the fact that he's a perfectionist, and he's definitely like very insecure about himself, which is a plot line that is later established that we were going to get into
for good reason.
And then you see like Wiccan and Hulkling, they're like agreeing with each other a lot, which again, that's another plot point that we are going to see. And then Iron Lad kind of just segue and kind of like, I'm hiding something, but you know, I'm going to try to be the leader because I'm more knowledgeable about everything, clearly. And you just get to know all of these different personalities, and they each have their established. That's the thing, is they're very established in this first issue of, you automatically know who this person is, who this person is, who this person is, right? Kind of a lot of times when we're introduced to new characters, it takes us a few issues to really get to know them. This issue really captivates that in a nutshell.
That bomb though at the end, man, like that, like we obviously made a point of introducing each character at the beginning, so we kind of hinted at that, but reading that fresh was just like a huge bomb, because yes, we get to, you automatically go into this series, you get to introduce to all these characters that you're familiar with, like, oh, I can trust this guy looks like Thor, can trust him. He looks like Hulk, I can trust him, right? This guy looks like Iron Man, I can trust him.
But he didn't, because like his hands kind of, you kind of got hinted it looked like Kang a little bit.
That's what I'm talking about. But then this thing, he takes it off, he has his helmet off, he's like, "Listen, I'm actually your biggest enemy you've ever had."
You hate me, but you don't even heads up.
You're not gonna like me, and so like that was such a huge bomb. And so like I said, as a reader, you automatically trust him because he looks like Iron Man, and then all of a sudden, nope, that's gone out the window. What is going on here? Like that, reading that fresh was such a huge bomb, and I loved it so much.
At the time, it kind of was like that last page kind of brought me back to the Thunderbolts, Busiek and
Bagley.
Yep.
Yeah.
And but we would quickly find out that's not the case. But it definitely gave me a shot of that, like, bad guys posing as good guys. Who are these other young superheroes? They must not be, who they say they are.
Yeah.
Right.
So going on to issue 2, the issue 2 opens up with another like media shot of the Young Avengers. The first issue had like a newspaper spread. This one is showing them on the television screen from
we want you to know.
Right. They're being watched. And so it's at the hospital, and it's like, who are these Young Avengers? And we quickly see that Kate Bishop is at the hospital, and it takes place shortly after the whole wedding fiasco, because she's just getting checked up and stuff. Some people got a little banged up during that whole thing. And so
her dad has the big
we find out that her dad is well off. He's got a lot of connections, and she's rich. She goes outside, and she's just kind of waiting for her dad, and someone asking her about the Young Avengers, and she like looks up, and she's like, "Yo, who are you?" And it turns out it's Cassie Lang, Scott Lang's daughter. And so she's pretty much just trying to find out about Cassie is trying to find out about the Young Avengers because she wants to join them. She's like, "Yo, like, if there's some Young Avengers, I should be a part of that. Like, I used to actually chill with the Avengers and be at the mansion all the time." not all the time, but like once a weekend, a month. Next page, we see Cap, Kang, young King, Iron Man, and Jessica are continuing their conversation, and they're pretty much like, "This, what's going on? This, you don't look like any King we've ever encountered." And so he pretty much says, like, I'm just the teenage version of King. You haven't ever encountered this version of King, and he like gives a little. He shows that his armor can transform into the classic King costume, just so they'll believe him, And he pretty much it does like a flashback to Kang's history as to why he kind of decided to come to the past and become Iron Lad. He was picked on in this timeline, and he's getting picked on really badly by a group of bullies, and like they're starting to beat him up. And Kang, the one we know, comes and introduces himself, freezes all the bullies and stuff. And he's pretty much telling young King, like, "What are you putting up with this, man? Like, you're smarter than this. Like, you're meant for more.
We're gonna kill many people in our lifetime."
Yeah. He's like, "Do you know who you become? Yeah. Do you know who you are? Yeah."
He must not know who he is.
Let me introduce him.
I kind of see this as like DJ Khaled talking to younger DJ Khaled, like, "You gonna be successful. We the best." That's what I got to say.
Yeah.
You smart. You successful. And so he gives young King his helmet, which shows him the history of King, right? Just shows him everything he's gonna do, supposed to become. And young King does not like that. He's like, "Yo, I dig what the Avengers are about. Why would I ever go back and become like their worst enemy?" And so, not wanting to accept that, he like hits King with the blast. I don't know if it was intentional, maybe it was just an emotional outburst, and he ends up going back in time. Did they establish that he like? Okay, so the armor, as we said earlier, responds to his thoughts, and so he was thinking about going back in time to try to round up the Avengers to let him know what King was trying to do, and so the armor actually sends him back in time because of his thoughts. And so he lands, and he doesn't. I don't know how the logistics worked out of what point in time it sent him back to, but he lands around Avengers Disassembled.
He landed in that era because when he goes there and Vision is destroyed, we're kind of already hinted at that. I think it was shortly after Disassembled, because when they did like kind of disband, Tony was very forefront in the media, and we kind of got a hint of him being too busy on the phone to talk to young Kang. So just putting the pieces together in that time period, I would say it's almost like it adds up perfectly.
No, yeah, absolutely. So like, guys, you're saying Kang's been trying to contact what's left of the Avengers. Tony's avoiding him. He's too busy. And so he finds himself at Avengers Mansion, and he's just like, oh no, it was a warehouse of Tony's that had all the old Avengers belongings and stuff. And he's like going through some boxes, and he finds the remains of Vision. And it turns out like Vision's software is still operational. And so this is still, the next page shows Wiccan and Hulkling flying home after, the same night that they said, all right, guys, see you tomorrow. I believe it's the same night, but they're talking, and, they're talking like, so you think Patriot's actually going to leave us, or you think he's going to come back? And they're like, he just needs, I don't know who says it, but since consensus is like, he'll be back. He just needs time to cool off. He's not that wild. And then we see a car turn in the corner very sharply. And who's on the hood of it? Patriot himself.
Of course.
And so he's trying to stop some guys, some drug dealers. And he like gets shot, and they're like, oh, snap, we got to jump in to help him. They help him throw out these guys, stop him. And they're like, yo, why are you like doing this on your own? He's like, I had that. You guys didn't need to jump in to help me. I had it on my own. They're like, yeah, it kind of looked like it. And so,
typical teenager just saying, I got it. I'm only
I got
failing.
it. Yeah, geez.
It's all right. I'll get it, man.
Mom, get off.
So this is actually a crucial little plot point. He's apprehending some MGH, which is, sorry guys, mutant growth hormones. And that comes back later on into play. And they're like, what should we do with the drugs? And he's like, should we give them to the cops? And like, no, they're gonna think we're like some drug pushers or something like that. He's like, we should just get out of here. And so next shot, we see Cassie and Kate actually arriving at the mansion. They're gonna try to figure out who these Young Avengers are.
Right.
Do as much as they can.
I think
Cassie's getting a little emotional.
Yeah, no, that's about to say. I think that's a huge thing we need to also kind of talk about a second, is like what's Cassie's motivation for really being here, especially after the events of Avengers Disassembled with her father.
Who died, by the way. He died.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Scott Lang
died.
Died during Avengers Disassembled, like the very beginning too.
Right.
And so she's kind of left just on, she of course has her mom, but like her dad was a big influence in her life, especially being a hero. And so moving
she
forward,
looked up to him a lot.
Feel the same way, feel that kind of hero void that she feels that is being left behind by Ant-Man.
Right. I thought the scene where she was like standing over his place of death, or like the location of his death, was so emotional, because it's just like it was her home. Like, even though she didn't live there, her home was with her father. Like, and I think the one thing the movies and the comics go hand in hand in is that Cassie's and Scott's relationship is very distant, but it's also so close knit.
Yes.
So like when he died, it's just like it hit her, because that's like
that was her world, man.
Yeah, go back and read some Bronze Age Marvel Premiere by Bob Layton and David Michelinie, and it's you'll see.
Good call.
And so we get back to Cassie and Kate, kind of just browsing around the mansion, and someone speaks out to them like, "Yo, what are you kids doing here?" And we see that it's Patriot, Wiccan, and Hulkling. And I guess they decided to go back to the mansion. And Kate quickly calls out, she's like, "Kids," because Patriot referred to Cassie and her as kids. And she's like, "You're not much older. I can tell you're trying to make your voice deeper." And so she's like,
classic,
trying to impress the ladies.
Like young teenage kid, like boy, trying to be
the quips.
It's like everyone trying to do their Darth Vader impression.
Yeah. And
good looking girls around. Never mind. Hey, anyways.
Let me sit over my chair real quick.
Yeah.
And try to use big words. Try to use big words too.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't notice you there. Hey, I was just doing that hero thing,
Yeah. No,
so Eli and Kate, you'll see, have this rapport going throughout the series where they kind of butt heads. They're like, "Yo, what are you guys doing here?" And she's like, "Yo, my dad used to be an Avenger, so I see you guys are forming your own team, and I'm here to join. Like, who better off than someone whose dad was actually an Avenger?" They're like, "What are you gonna do?" She's like, "I'm gonna get his old equipment, his helmet, and I'm gonna be Ant Girl." So like, all right.
They're just like, okay, high roll.
Yeah, they're like,
who gives a shit? They're like, a lot of jokes like Ant-Man's like, there's like, hey, who gives a shit about Ant-Man? Like, what the fuck? What you gonna fucking do? About Ant-Man, and they're like, oh,
low key a powerhouse. No, not powerhouse, but he's unique.
They're like, get a load of this guy.
So Hawkeye and Wiccan are kind of like okay with it, but Patriot's like, whoa, no girls allowed. Kind of He-Man woman haters club. And so he's like stopping them as they're trying to walk by it, and Cassie's like, "Yo, take your hand off me." And he's like, no. She flips him over her shoulder. She's like, "I told you to take your hand off me." She's like, "I took a lot of self-defense classes. My dad was an Avenger." And so she's like getting upset, saying like, you have no, my dad was an Avenger. You guys don't, who knows if you guys even have a personal connection to this? Like, this has nothing to do with you. Like, get out of my way. And like, she's getting upset, and it's revealed that over the course of getting angry, she grew to become a giant. So it turns out she actually has some powers that we were not aware of until now, like her dad. And that is the end of issue 2. Let me get my issue 3.
And now we're introduced to Stature.
And then this is another mic. This is another mic drop. Just like, oh my god! I wasn't reading it at the time, but that's the thing about books that came out during this era, is it expanded a lot of niche characters, like lesser known people, and that's why they're going to be on the big screen, you guys. That's why, and that's really the purpose of this review and this breakdown, so we can familiarize ourselves with these characters that are going to lead the next generation of comics.
Right.
Don't care what any of you guys say. These characters are all here to stay. Wiccan, Hulkling, you're going to see them.
Oh yeah.
Miles eventually will be on will be kind of running with
MCU.
them.
Yeah,
I hope
guaranteed.
so. I was because right now in the comics he's with the champions on any
Right.
team he's with, which I like. I actually do quite enjoy the champions team with Miss Marvel on there, and but seeing Miles on the Young Avengers would be really cool.
Yeah.
He would, I mean, because Spider-Man's was on the Avengers. I think having him on that team, I think
Right.
would be really awesome, actually.
Right. Yeah. And I just want to see like when they get all these personalities together, and I think the reason why they're bringing them in as a slow burn, and Link and I were kind of speaking on this. If you guys have checked out our discussion of Brian Michael Bendis, we did on Wednesday for Whiplash Wednesday. Yeah, I know you're seeing this after the fact, but go back to that because there was a very thoughtful conversation about why we haven't seen Miles in the MCU yet, and that's because he really only has 10 years of history as a comic character, and you want to build that lore, build that stories. When you bring him in, you're not running into like what they did with the Hulk. I think that they completely learned their lesson that way. So when they sent Hulk to space, the only other storylines you have is World War Hulk, which you don't have the rights or the casting to do.
Yeah.
And then you have Immortal Hulk, but you're Disney and you're not going to do that. So you don't have a whole lot.
No, that's totally a solid point, because I mean, to bring Miles in right now would be not the greatest idea, because when Miles finally comes in, he's looked up to Peter. Has been Spider-Man forever. He has someone to look up to, mold his form of his ideal of heroism.
Yeah, you're gonna get Tom Holland for
right
a few
now.
years.
Tom Holland's not ready for that.
No,
It would be weird if he was being molded after Tom Holland right now.
No.
So yeah, it's not the right time. And I want him in there. I want a live action Miles really bad. I think
you're gonna get it. You guys are gonna get it.
Yeah, I know we're gonna get it.
There's a time and place, and Marvel isn't doing it. But like I'm sorry, but you kind of have to introduce Peter Parker first. You know, he is the Batman of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
He is your cash cow, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
And what they're doing with Kate Bishop, and Kate Bishop has had a lot of stories. You know, she was a pinnacle character in Matt Faction's Hawkman. She had her own by Jeff Lemire and Kelly Thompson. You know, those series, and she's been like in comics for quite a long time now. So it makes sense for her to be really the first one. And we really saw Wiccan and Speed teased in WandaVision. So these characters are going to be a slow burn simply because Marvel wants them to last, and they want to capture that growth over a period of time. We're seeing Kamala Khan, right?
Yes.
And we're going to see, and I guarantee you, we're going to see Amadeus Cho real quick in the She-Hulk show, right?
I believe it.
So what these comics are doing is when Marvel's making comics now, these characters, they're not thinking, okay, we're going to eventually adapt these. We're just going to use this as the lore to adapt it later on so we can have those pillars for these characters to come into the fold. You're not going to see like Empire be like a Marvel show. You're not going to see it, but you're going to see some of the concepts. You're going to see some of the growth from these characters utilized.
That's totally true.
And that's what Kevin Feige's great at, is not going directly off the comics, but taking inspiration from multiple comic runs to put these characters in a time and place.
Agreed. Well said. Do you mind, and when you guys pick up from me real quick while I run to the bathroom? Sorry.
Yeah, so issue number 3, go pee. Issue number 3, go pee. All right, so we're learning about how Iron Lad got into the Vision's armor, or like kind of how he adapted the two, and then we flip back and we see not Stature, but we see Stature, we see Cassie growing, and everyone rushed out because they heard like a big boom. They thought there was an earthquake. So that they're coming in and they're seeing how everything's happening. And Captain America, who is actually, they're all there when Ant-Man died, they feel responsible. They still feel responsible to an extent for the death of Scott Lang in the event of Avengers Disassembled. So if this story is retconned ever so presently, it is in the sequence right here.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily need to read Disassembled before reading this. You just need to understand some fuck shit happened and some badass shit happened, and they're suffering the consequences. And the reason why they're so against these Young Avengers is because they're not at a time and place where they're comfortable with themselves.
Yeah. No, that's very true. Yes.
Yeah. They're not at all ready to come back, let alone to bring in a new team, you know? So that's like the whole reason why they're so against, and that their intention is, we're going to shut these guys down before something happens, because we can't do that. Because we just went through something so severe within our own ranks that we can't control.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
So, of course, the Young Avengers, they're teenagers. They're kind of not oblivious, but they have balls, right? They don't. Their ignorance
They do.
is bliss.
Yeah,
Their
definitely.
ignorance is bliss, and they have a lot to learn. And it's like when you go to like, it's like, oh yeah, I got it. But then it's 10 times like harder than you thought.
The team is very skilled, actually. Like if you like, Wiccan is obviously not super like martial arts trained, but his power set makes up for that considerably. Same with Hulkling. But Patriot is very well trained. Hawkeye is very well trained. Same with Cassie.
Probably the best,
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so
Kate Bishop is perfect in this book.
They're probably the best trained out of any young team, actually.
Right.
Like definitely the Runaways for sure. Definitely, in my opinion, probably better trained than when the Champions first started.
Absolutely, But
I think the Champions have grown quite a bit.
They've grown,
yeah. But the Young Avengers are definitely able to handle themselves. I think this when the Avengers, when the grown up Avengers confront them, it's more of the fact that the Avengers are trying to control their own and fix their own mistakes. Rather than, I mean, obviously overtly it's about being like, you're kids, we got to protect you, we're the adults in the room, but at the same time trying to fix their own image.
In all of this we learn about Vision's fail-safe programs. As you guys know, Vision is kind of like that body around the world. He's the software that the Avengers have behind the scenes where they can file everything, where they know how to be the Avengers and prepare for crisis events. Like, like this is like a what if coming true. What if the Avengers just disbanded? Who's up next? And this was a search around the world, and this is stored. So Iron Lad taking over kind of the Vision's conscious already has access to that, which allowed him to find these characters and these people, which kind of tells us, okay, their origin wasn't pulled out of someone's ass. It wasn't like it wasn't like the Dallas Cowboys, and every year is their year, and if they're going to pull something out of their ass to make it happen, which they never do, this is sorry Dallas, but how about them Cowboys? No sir. Sorry Robbie, but anyway, it was very thoughtful, and it was like, okay, this makes sense, right? Understanding the whole lore of Vision and kind of how this team got together, it makes perfect sense. So we're talking to Patriot, we're talking to everybody, and then the whole point is now we're going to learn about their powers, right? So like, okay, we know who you are, we know why you're here, what can you do? Like, why? It's almost like now you're on the job interview. We know who you are. We know what you can do, but why?
Why should we keep you here?
Why should I invest my time and attention in keeping you guys going? Because you make a lot of good points, surprisingly for kids. So, so we learn about all of that, and we learn their backstory. We know Wiccan has powers, and all Wiccan knows. Again, this is about self-discovery. So like, you get a very teenage kind of mindset in talking about Wiccan, and he's like, yeah, it's just my lightning, but you don't really know that, okay, this is the son of the Scarlet Witch. You don't really understand that he's a sorcerer as of yet. And for those of you who are familiar with that, based off the TV shows, this is a very new concept, and that's what Marvel's learning. You're going to learn about these characters as they learn about themselves, which is something that we really have not seen before since the Silver.
That was big to me, because at the time when this came out, I was like their age. It was like 2005, so I was 16 going on 17. And Marvel at the time had never really toyed with teen superheroes. That always kind of was like DC's thing, like sidekicks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so when this came out, it was just like, it spoke to me so much, man, because I love comics. So I always kind of whoever grows up loving comics. You want to be a superhero at one point, like
totally.
So
or
like the
Jedi,
CDs,
or Jedi,
or there you go,
or some comic character's wife or husband,
So see these kids come in and just kind of just make an impact was really powerful to me. I thought it was super dope.
And then we learn about Hulkling, and all we know about him, Hulkling doesn't understand that I'm a Skrull yet, that's going to come later in the book. So all Hulkling knows is, hey, I look like Bruce Banner, who's also not here right now. Because in continuity now, Hulk is off-world, right? The Illuminati sent him up. And they were very, very, very stupidly. Yeah, they it made sense, but it came back to bite them in the ass.
That's a constant thing with the Illuminati, unfortunately. They're the smartest people, but they're also the dumbest people.
Yeah, they make the worst decisions.
It's literally like a Congress, right? They're supposed to be the smartest people in that field, but they have no
and they think
ethics.
They are too.
They have
That's
no
the
ethical
thing.
or like any sense of like the ramifications. Okay, what if I do this?
They think
And
they're the
that's
smartest
really
people
like,
in the room.
yeah, literally. That's
Yeah.
literally it's literally Illuminati in a nutshell. They are American politics. But I digress. What can you do? Then you have Iron Patriot, who we reveal to be Isaiah Bradley's grandson, as Link informed us about earlier. This is where we learn these backstories. He's like, I'm the son of the real Captain America, and that's when Cap understands. And then Cassie gets in her suit, and she's like, guys, look at me, hey, 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 and then Iron Lad kind of turns around. He's like, and it's like that Robert thing. His son goes like, hey, 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 and so.
But this
Iron,
right in this little moment though, real quick with Cassie and her, she's talking to Iron Man, but we kind of what you guys were saying earlier, like the Avengers feeling guilty about themselves. Like this is Tony pretty much breaks it down to her why he can't really encourage her becoming a superhero. You know, like
the guilt is there.
Yeah, exactly. The guilt. My bad, Brian. Go on.
Right. So then after that kind of heart to heart that we have, and Cassie's like, she's so motivated to really live up to her father and make him proud, honor his death. Tony's like, I need to honor it too by protecting everyone. And so but they come to a mutual understanding in that. And this sequence is honestly like one of my favorite parts of the book. The thing about Marvel at the time, which was so impressive, and we don't see this today in comics, is you get so much out of it by just people talking. Yeah. And at Marvel today, the one thing they lose sight of is, okay, I need to send him to space. I need to send him here. I need to take a concept and merge it with another concept and put two things that we've seen together and make it seem like a new thing. Yeah, that's what we saw with the Avengers Phoenix thing. That's what we saw with the Khonshu thing. That's what we saw with even in Daredevil. I'm gonna take Miller. I'm gonna take Bendis, and I'm gonna marry them together. What if Typhoid Mary and Kingpin teamed up with each other and rebirth Bullseye.
Right.
You know, we've seen it before. We've seen Daredevil get revealed to the world. We've seen Daredevil go to jail. You know, this is nothing new to us. It's just they're telling it in a way that feels fresh to newer readers. Absolutely. Right? Because they don't expect you to have read stuff in the early 2000s. What this book does, what Marvel did at the time, was they grew their characters just through dialogue. And you don't see that today. You just see concepts.
Completely agree with what you're saying, Brandon. Like, it's too easy for them to like fight with each other. Like that's a typical thing that a lot of even DC does this too, of course, but I think Marvel does a little more where it's too easy to sick their heroes on each other or just punch their way out of stuff, or kind of go on the same kind of story tangents as they've have gone on before. So having something like this where they actually legitimately talk it out, it's very refreshing, actually. So yes, I completely agree with what you're saying, Brent.
And I don't think they can do it today. I don't think you can achieve this level of storytelling today simply because patience is not a valued trait of a person in today's society. If you are if you're a comic fan and you really have a love for the characters, you will sit through their dialogue and you will hear what they have to say. That's how you establish their voice, and that's why you see a lot of first appearance characters in comics today not last. That's why Punchline, I'm sorry, has not lasted long. Is because she doesn't have her own voice yet. None of them do. And I love James Tynion. I love the book, but none of his characters, probably with the exception of Miracle Molly, have yet to find their own voice. And a lot of 2020, 2021 appearances.
Yeah.
You know? And then I look at Hickman, right? He's a great writer. And the thing that he's achieved with this creative team is each character has their own voice. And that's a reason why X-Men is so not well received right now is it's intimidating, but also people don't want to sit through that dialogue,
which is a shame.
Which is a shame, you know. And the info dumps, no one has the patience for that no more. But like I said, if you really care about these characters, you're going to want to learn about them. The only way you can achieve that as a storyteller is through dialogue, not action. It was necessary at the time. I'm sorry for that tangent. But that's just the beauty of this time period.
I completely agree, 100%.
I say it all the time, but Joe Quesada, EIC, is one of my favorite reigns. Like, he didn't do everything perfect, no one does, but it was an exciting time for Marvel when he was EIC.
Right. So anyway, so we learn about Isaiah, we learned about his blood type and how he's like very similar to his grandfather. And then this guy comes to Harold Kang. He's kind of like a Harold Kang, you know. He basically is the Harold Kang, and he's like, I'm coming for everybody. And then he just like destroys what's even left of the X-Mansion. I think it's like 2 windows and a file cabinet, but he destroys it. And then he just he multiplies himself, and he's like, "Where's the master? Where's the master? Blah 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 blah. I'm gonna Jimmy Madrox the shit out of you guys." And then he's like, "I'm Kang, I'm Kang," and Iron Lad reveals himself to his peers.
Yeah.
And then the signal activates.
And they're like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Kang's coming. We gotta prepare."
Yeah, he's like, "Kang is coming." And then he's like, "Oh, speak of the devil." And he's like, "You speak of the devil, and he shall appear." And then that's another mic drop. So like, there's another cliffhanger. And for a monthly book, cliffhangers is what keeps you wanting more.
It's not a joke.
Which I would say is still a constant in comics today. But honestly, you guys, this book is worth it. I wouldn't pay out the ass for the first issue. I don't think it's worth $1,200 to me. It may be for you, but I don't think I have $1,200 to make it worth it. But buy the trade or buy the second printings.
The omnibus is about to drop in November. They reprinted the omnibus of the regular one. Is coming out in November. So I'm very excited about that.
I thought it was killing the Gillen one.
I thought it's all of
Heinberg
it.
too.
It's all in one.
All the
it's
runs.
a big. It's like $125 omnibus of Young Avengers.
Can I pre-order it through your shop?
You can do whatever you want, yeah, of course. But it's I'm super excited for it. I'm grabbing one myself because
literally this is the year of the omnibus. It is. It's super exciting. I don't know if you can tell. I'm ridiculously excited. Yes, I love this. We're gonna make this a whole show. It doesn't give me a whole other show. But so anyway, Link. So filled in for you. You can take it back.
All right, appreciate it. Avengers 4 picks up. Kang is pretty much saying, "Yo, I'm here for the kid. You know, what's the deal, guys?" Cap and Iron Man immediately jump into action. Like, we got to stop this guy. Kang immobilizes them. Yeah. We cut to the kids. They're just talking amongst each other. Last issue, they got locked in the danger room. I forget what they call it. And they told the kids they were going to train, but they really just took all their gear and just locked them in there because they were going to call their parents and send them home. So they're discussing amongst each other, like, what's going to happen. I think they're actually going to tell their parents they're not going to train us. They're trying to find a way to get out of there. And, just talking amongst each other, just trying to figure it out. And the door unlocks. And who lets them out? Kate Bishop.
Who let the dogs out? Kate.
She's really trying to be on this team, man.
She's like, have I proven myself, guys?
I know,
So you still don't want to
Can I take over the team yet? Like,
yes.
And so
you guys are not working right now.
No. Kang is talking to Jessica Jones, and he's like, "Yo, Iron Man and Cap were no help, but if you care about your baby, you're gonna tell me what I want to know." And he's like, got a gun to her bit. She's pregnant at the time. So she's like, "You just messed up, man. You just messed up, and you don't ever threaten." Yeah, you don't ever threaten a pregnant woman, especially not one with superpowers. And she like drop kicks him. It takes him by surprise. And so, after immobilizing Kang, they're asking him like, "Yo, what's the deal? Why are you here?" And he's like, "I'm here to get my younger self before the time stream starts messing up." And he's like, "It's already being messed up." And we get a shot of the surroundings of them have started to change. And they're now in like a post-apocalyptic destroyed city and stuff. And he's like, "This is for the better. I'm actually helping you guys out. I'm not the villain you always tout me to be."
Yeah.
And so next shot is the Young Avengers. They're gearing up. They're like, "Yo, we got to handle this ourselves, guys. We tried to reach out to the Avengers and we see where it got us. We got to take care of ourselves." And so Kate's giving them all their gear back and stuff like that. She's actually got some gear herself. She raided the Avengers arsenal. And so she's got like a Swordman's sword, Mockingbird's face mask. I think she's got some bow and arrows in there. She's working with what she has. She's like MacGyver.
There you go.
There you go.
So another shot, next shot is back to Cap and them out in the destroyed city. And the time stream's already taken effect. Like Cap and Iron Man, even Jessica Jones, their appearances have changed. She's no longer pregnant because the time stream is going astray. And so cut to another shot of the Young Avengers, and they're pretty much just like discussing like, what should we do? Like, should we send, go back, or like, should we try to get out of here? And they're trying to get out of there, and they end up getting caught by Cap, Jessica Jones, and crew. and they're like, "Yo, we're sorry, but we got to go back, man. Like, not to be a hole, but." He's like, Iron Lad's not trying to hear that, so he takes off. He's like, no. Iron Man flies after him, and they get into a scuffle. Of course, the kids want to protect their friends, so they're trying to stop the Avengers from getting to Iron Lad. It's a whole thing. People are getting hurt, and who's trying to book. Hulkling ends up getting hurt by Iron Man, and we end up finding out in this reveal that he's a shapeshifter. That's how we find out that he's not a Hulk imitation.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's more,
Right?
He's not gamma.
Yeah. No gamma radiation. So we see that Iron Man and Iron Lad are still going at it in the sky. Iron Lad blasts Iron Man. It reminds me of the scene from Civil War where War Machine gets blasted out of the sky and he just starts spiraling to the ground. So Iron Lad goes after him, but before he hits the ground, Iron Lad catches him, and so he's pretty much saying like, "All right, guys, here's Cap. Like, we shouldn't be fighting it. We can work this out without me having to go back and everything." And at this point, King, we didn't know this, but King takes over Iron Lad's armor and blasts everybody using Iron Lad's armor. And Iron Lad's like, "Yo, what are you doing?" He's like, "I invented the armor. I can control it, man."
Yeah.
And so the last page ends with him saying, like, are you ready to go? And Iron Lad just looks defeated. Like, he's like, "Yo, man, like, I can't catch a break. I try to do the right thing. No matter what, I'm supposed to become this evil villain."
It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, like, give me a break. Leading into issue 5. First cover appearance of Kate Bishop, actually. It's just her face, but it's first cover.
So you
This picks specking a little bit. But this picks up with right after Iron Lad and King talking, they're about to jump into a time stream, and Stature, Cassie, comes out of nowhere, and she's like, yo, wait, Iron Lad, don't go. You don't have to do that. She like pushes King into the time stream, and it's like a vortex, a black hole type of thing. She starts to get sucked in, so Iron Lad's trying to hang on to her so she doesn't go. He is successful. The vortex closes, and in that excitement, they share a passionate kiss. Not that it was like they were feeling each other, but just like, yo, can't believe we just survived something wild. And so she apologizes because Stature's the one who went for the kiss. Iron Lad lets her know. He's like, yo, you don't gotta apologize. I didn't mind. And so she's like, in that case, let me give you a second one.
I'm not throwing away my shot. I hope you guys got that the Hamilton reference.
Oh, that was good. That fits so well right there. That was super good.
Yeah. So we see that when Kang used Iron Lad's armor to blast everybody, he didn't kill them. He just knocked them out, right? And so Iron Lad's waking everybody up. They're like, all right, guys, we got to get out of here. Iron Lad's pretty much, all right, guys, let's get out of here. We got to do something. And they're like, all right, let's go. We'll protect you. And Kang comes back just as quick, and he's like, yo, guys, I'm not playing any games. Give me what I want, or I'm going to start blasting fools, all right? And so they tell Iron Lad to like, I think Cassie actually mentioned looking for her dad because he might have not been dead in this timeline. So they're going to go to Hulkling's house and wait for him there. So they tell Hulkling to just go by himself and like, yo, we'll catch up. We're going to hold off Kang. And so it showed, he goes to do that. Young Avengers jump into action. Nice double page spread right there.
Beautiful.
Oh, see, on the tablet, you don't really get that. Like what I'm looking at is just like pure.
Right.
I can only imagine. I mean, when I look at it like this, better. But like, I don't know. Sometimes it's like weird. It's like,
No, I completely agree. The comic is still where it's at for me. So those double panel spreads are just the double page spreads. Just don't do it justice on digital yet.
No,
absolutely.
No, but that's really I don't know. For me, I still get a similar experience. Like I still get a great experience reading this. And I've read it both in a trade and digitally.
Sure. Still yes.
But I don't know. That's weird. That's a whole other segment I'd like to do. Is the different experiences between like single issues, trades, and then digital.
Oh, that'd be a good idea. Actually, I like that.
Anyway, sorry.
Okay, no, you're all right. No need to apologize. Put your sorries in a sack. No, just kidding. The Young Avengers, are battling out with Kang, still trying to figure out a way to beat him. Patriot kind of suggests using the Iron Lad armor, if I remember correctly. They're like, Kate's like, no, man, put that down. We don't know what we're dealing with. this is where we find out about Wiccan's other powers right here. That he's not just a lightning dude.
Right.
And we kind of get an idea of to how, the magic of how his powers work and his spell casting. He's pretty much, his powers work in the aspect that it's like a mantra. Like, I want to fly, I want to fly, I want to fly, I want to be away from here. I want to be away from here can mean anything. Like usually probably teleporting or something like that. So like whatever is in his mind at the time, he just like a mantra he focuses on and he makes it happen.
I love it. I think it's such a cool, unique way to do it too.
Yeah. Someone's gift who I thought was unique, similar to him, but I feel like eventually it would wear thin is Nico from Runaways.
Yeah.
You can only use the word once. Like that would get tricky eventually. Like
it would, but that is so cool for like very like good writers. Like that's so cool. Like, and you need a good continuity director on those ones, so you don't accidentally
use the word.
No one will catch you if you try to do it again. But like that's such a cool power. Yeah, I like that, and it's so unique. It's so cool.
If you guys haven't read it, I recommend reading the team up between the Runaways and the Young Avengers Civil War.
I have not read any Runaways. I'm sorry, but I have not read any Runaways. Yeah, see, I just dropped both your draws in like 2 seconds. Wow.
Kayvon, man. It's,
Kayvon, Josh Whedon.
I've listened to Brian Kayvon do panels about it and how he ruined Christmas for his son. Or like ruined like Santa Claus for his son in that book. See, he didn't realize I didn't tell my son about Santa Claus not being real before I gave him my book. And he's like, Dad, what'd you do? And I was like, listening to the whole bed. I was like, this is great. I haven't watched a show. It's like Runaways is like, I don't know. It's like everyone tells me how great the show is, how great the comic is. I'm like,
show is decent.
Just teenagers with random powers. It's not like a superhero book. They're not superheroes. They're really not.
No. I don't care. Like, I guess that's me with the Loki show. And I was like, it's like everyone tells me it's great. I was like, I just don't care. I don't care.
It was unique with Runaways, just real quick, because it's like they're kids from parents who are all villains, essentially, and they don't want to be like that at all. So they band together to
very Iron Lad-esque.
Right? Yeah, right.
Not parent-child, but still.
And just, I think it was kind of ahead of its time with like the characters, the idea, like someone like Xavier would be perfect for audiences now. But I digress.
I completely agree. No, all of them it's really awesome, actually. Like being psychically connected to a raptor. Like it was like that book is just so, and then Molly, who's just, who's a mutant actually, which is really cool. Yeah, it's so cool. All right. Anyways.
So the battle to talk about, guys. Come on.
We're about to get to
we were just talking about how important dialogue is, and now we're just like the one part we can talk about people punching each other.
So they're holding their own against this battle with King, and not Cassie, but Kate comes up with the plan, and she's like, "Yo, I feel like," because they realize like there's a button in Iron Lad Vision's chest armor, so they figure it's the same King's, and so she makes a dope shot with an arrow and pierces him right in the chest that disables his armor. So he's screwed. And so he's not done yet. He doesn't need power stuff. So like she's like moving in to make a move on him, and he like Kang takes her sword and he's got the sword to her throat, and they're like, whoa. Iron Lad comes out of nowhere and he's like, whoa, you don't do anything. I'll come with you, man. And so Kate's on the ground. She's like, no, don't give yourself up. He turns around. And it's kind of like the movie from the Avengers where that's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry. He's like, that's my secret, Kate. I'm not Iron Lad. And it turns out it's Hulkling, so he turns around
it's like,
lays a smack down in the King.
You know this reminds me like in Kevin Hart's stand-up comedy when he like cursed out Stature. She didn't have any. That's what this reminded me of. Like just everyone's like going crazy. Whoa!
After before I reread the series for this show, like I totally forgot how many big shit moments there was in this issue. Yeah. Like we were talking about this, they don't do that anymore in modern comics. Like
that's even for the end. I'm like, oh.
Each issue had this I have to wait a month.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Right.
And then it's like I see a book. I'm like, oh, this comes out, but I'm still paying for it. I look at my LCS. I'm like, what? Why did you do this to me? No, she wasn't ready.
So that hurts King, but he's not done yet. He's still putting up a fight somehow without powers against these powered up Young Avengers. And he's pretty much saying, I'm not going down without a fight. Come at me, bro.
Yeah,
and
I'm Aaron Burr, sir.
right.
2 Hamilton quotes in one show? What? You're crazy, man. This is good.
He gets shot in the back after talking all that good stuff. And we're like, yo, who just did that? Vision's back.
Oh,
Vision is back.
You'll be back.
I actually really like this design of Vision, like the Iron Lad armor, but the Vision color scheme.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool, unique. I wish they would have kept it that way.
You'll remember what you said to me. You'll be back.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael. I know. I can't help myself.
And so Iron Lad's, we're thinking that Vision is gonna just lay the smackdown on King, and so he's moving in, and he's like smacks the sword out of King's hand. And he's like, "You're done," and he's like, "I think not." He's got his hands around the little throat of Vision. Turns out there's a failsafe button that he presses, completely immobilizes Kid Vision, and he's got his armor back now. He's got since Kate destroyed it, he just got back the one he gave Iron Lad, which is technically still his armor. So he's back in business, right? Cap comes out of nowhere. He's finally woken up after getting his butt handed to him quite a few times this series. And he throws his shield once, and Kang's just pissed at this point. He's just like, no, I'm done. Blast Jessica, Tony, and Cap, right? He's taken them out. He killed them. He's just done it. He's not toying around. And so after seeing this, he gets taken by surprise again in the back, but this time it's his younger self.
Yeah.
Impaling him.
We love that.
Seriously though.
Another
Yeah, it was. It was like, yo, what's going on? You just killed yourself. So how do you... We'll find out next issue as we know.
Yeah, you gotta wait a month, guys.
Yeah.
I'll let you watch, and then you're like, oh wait, I'm just gonna skip forward 10 seconds while Brandon rambles, and we're gonna get right to it.
And we're back. Okay, here we go.
After that short break,
So issue 6 picks up. It's the end of this arc called Sidekicks, and it's pretty much King's like, all right, guys, we're good. I solved the problem. King won't be bothering me. I'm good. Look, the timeline's already changing. But then some of the Young Avengers are kind of like, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that's a good thing. Like, just because it's changing doesn't mean it's going to change back to normal. Like, we might not be in this new timeline because of how things have changed. Mm-hmm. And this is where we find out Cassie sees her dad's might not be dead. So she's like, yo, can we just check to see if my dad's, just to see it so I can say hi or something? Eli's kind of arguing. Was like, we don't have that kind of time. We don't know like the stipulations of how these time resets work. We kind of need to nip this in the bud. And they kind of come to the conclusion like, yo, we need you to go back, King. Like, it sucks. We like you too, but look what's happening, man. Like, we can't risk everything.
Dead. Everyone's
dead. Everything's
dead.
What do you have to avenge? We can't save anything if everything's gone. And
sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry, cut.
Yeah. So thanks for helping us set us up with powers and everything, but you gotta go.
Thanks for bringing us together, but at the end of the day, screw you.
And this was an important moment. Like, he kind of lashes out, and like it kind of would seem like, oh, yo, bro, like calm down. But it's like he's a teenager. He's going through a lot. He's felt like he was doing the right thing by going back in time, trying to, I thought I was doing the right thing by coming to the adults and telling you guys what's going on, and no one stopped it. No one fixed it. It was us that fixed it. So he's like, I just saved the day technically for myself. But he's like, why is everyone against me? Like, I can't win. Because at this point, Wiccan is starting to, we'll get into the name changes. Wiccan, Asgardian / Wiccan, starts to cast a spell saying, I want to send King home. I want to send King home. And he attacks, King attacks Wiccan saying, yo, stop that, man. Cut it out. And in between that time that he disrupted Wiccan's spell was all it took for Wiccan to disappear from the timeline. So Hulkling sees that and he's like, yo, what did you just do? Like, where'd you send him? He rages out, almost attacks him. Patriot's like, yo, calm down. Cooler heads will prevail. We shouldn't be fighting right now, guys. That's not going to help anything.
That's from the guy who like lashed out.
Who is the aggressive one? Yeah.
Big emotional reaction earlier. Yeah.
This is coming from the Jason Todd of the group, guys.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of Kang's just crushed at this point, man. But he kind of accepts that he has to go back. Like he's like,
Right.
I set out to kind of save everything. I'm gonna do that.
And
Even
this is really a strong suit for like everyone who's like on
yeah,
the Kang bandwagon right now. This is a
yeah,
real like kind of humanizing factor to Kang is like he didn't like I'm sorry, but like a lot of times you see villains that like don't have motives to be bad. Like this guy just
right.
has the inevitable that he's going to be bad, but wants just to do
No matter
good,
what he does, right?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And it's just like it's not really villainous. It's not villainous what he evolves. It's villainous what he evolves into, but right now it's like, dude can't like. I would totally understand him. I sympathize for Iron Lad in this book.
Totally.
and you get like you look at it from the perspective of like as a teenager, a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will. Like maybe he's bullied, but he's optimistic about you know what? I'm not gonna let this turn me better. I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna change the world. I'm gonna be better. Maybe he had aspirations like that, but only to find out you're gonna grow up and become one of the worst people to ever
You're gonna kill people.
Yeah,
You're gonna be worse than Andrew Jackson. Like that's saying something.
But he's like feeling like, yo, but I don't feel that way now. Like, why would I do that? Like, I want to help the world. So it's like I think that's a strong, thing to think about. He pretty much tells them like, yo, guys, I'm gonna leave the armor with you because if I take it back, it's gonna affect the time stream because I haven't created it yet. King gave that to me after he created it. So I'm just gonna leave it here. Even though I feel like leaving it in the past would kind of mess with time too, but we'll get into that later. He pretty much commands the armor, who is now Kid Vision, as we'll start calling him, to open up a time stream to send him home. And he's pretty much just saying like, guys, please don't forget me. Or if you see me again in the future when I'm Kang, like don't hold it against me because I don't remember you guys. Like he's like, I wish I could remember you guys. And they're like, don't worry, we're gonna remind you, bro. Have no worries. Cassie and him share one more kiss. And he lets them know, he's like, yo, man, I just want you guys to know, like, I really, really loved being a Young Avenger with you guys. Like, that was a highlight for me. And so he like disappears in the time stream.
And he boom tubes to another dimension.
Boom tube, yeah. Dark side.
I'm sorry, he boom tubed.
I like how they say boom. It still reminds me of the boom from
exactly. I was like, this couldn't have been a bigger dark side. I'm like, come on. Part of me like reading this, I'm like, come on, Marvel. I was like, you just did that, and you're like, dark side is. I'm like, fuck off.
So the rest of the Young Avengers, who's Cassie, Kate, Eli, they're standing outside. So they're like, yo, is everything good? They're like, I think so. They're looking around. The destroyed Avengers mansion is back to the way it used to be. They see a light inside of it, so they rush in to find out what the light is. And it's Wiccan using his powers to like kind of restore the mansion. And everyone who died by Kang is alive now. Like Cap, Jessica, Hulkling, they're all back. And so they're like, yo, what happened? And they pretty much fill him in like Iron Lad decided to do the right thing and send himself back. And so the next page, got to get back to what they were trying to do at the beginning of the issue. How do they handle at the beginning of the series? How do they handle the Young Avengers? How should they proceed with these guys? And they're pretty much saying, we can't have you. You guys have well intentions, but we can't take the risk. Like you guys proved yourselves, but there's still a risk, that we can't. Your liability, and we don't want that on our conscience. So we're gonna have to ask you guys to just give your gear, and thank you. You can try it. Maybe there'll be some Avengers tryouts in the future. And you guys can come when you're of age. And so the kids leave. They're a little bummed. Even Cap, Jessica, and Tony are kind of like questioning themselves. Like, Cap says, we're doing the right thing. Kind of like, right? Like, right? Back me up, guys. The guys are, the Young Avengers are pretty much saying like, hey, that was fun while it lasted. We had a good run. They're just saying, all right, guys, we'll talk later. It's late. It's been quite the night. We're gonna go home. Next page shows them meeting the next day at a park, and they're pretty much Cassie and Kate called the boys and had to meet him at the park, and they're pretty much saying like, me and Cassie have been talking. Kate's telling them this, and she's like, guys, we're still gonna be the Young Avengers. Like we decided, if you guys want to join us, you can, but like, what can these guys really do to stop us? Like tell our parents we can deny. Like even then, like they really can't do anything. Like we have powers.
Yeah, like, what's the worst they can do? Tell on us?
Yeah, like telling us.
I can grow like
Yeah.
I can grow. Like who's gonna
Right.
stop me right now? Like, what's my mom gonna do? Put me in timeout? No.
Yeah, I mean, come on now. Like what? Good time.
But they're talking amongst themselves, still trying to decide what they should do. They're coming up with new code names. This is when Kate kind of brings up like, Billy, maybe you shouldn't call yourself Asgardian because you have nothing to do with the Asgardians. You know, you're not God, and you're more magic based. And so they decide on the name Wiccan, and he likes that. And there's also a joke about his name Asgardian, and they make a reference to once people find out about you and Teddy, you know, they might have a field day with that name. But yeah, they're digging it, and Kate lets him know, I got us our own hideout, guys. You know, where we can have our base of operations from. And she's like, plus, I got us some new uniforms. And that kind of closes out the first arc, showing them.
It's always good to have a rich person on staff.
Right.
Yeah, see, if you had that much money,
if
you were worried about hiding it from your parents, but you just like use their credit card to buy like. But like that's just how rich they are. It's like Mr.
My own shell account.
Yeah, doesn't even
Mr.
notice.
Like
yeah.
Big Mr. Just like millions, stacks and stacks and stacks. Just one credit card going missing. Just who gives a fuck? Bruce Wayne mentality. Go hard or go home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bruce Wayne mentality. Exactly.
Oh my god.
Now, what came next? Was it the one shot or issue 7?
I just read issue 7.
Yeah, okay. The one shot didn't come until the very, very end, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got this, Link?
You pick up this half.
I got this. Okay. Yeah. I got it. So this next arc is, well, they're not stopping. So we're gonna tell on them. This whole arc is meet the parents kind of thing. So it's like where secret identities get revealed. We get a whole thing of Peter Parker. We really get the youth of Peter Parker because, like, who knows better than hiding their secret identity than Peter Parker? Cap, who's very open about his identity until it was time to register. He's like, I don't care. Like, no one knows who I am. And then, but that's later to come. That's like a year to come now. Yeah. And then we have Luke Cage, who's kind of like, everybody knows my name is Luke Cage. Like, come on. Like, so someone who's like, he's like, guys, like, I'm petrified for people to know who I am. And then you have like people who are like, me, but we are the face of America. And one of them's like, I'm America's ass, you know? Like they know my ass more than they know me. And then Luke Cage is like, they know my biceps more than they know anything else. So they have like this whole plan, like how to tell their parents. And while this is going on, like you see just like Billy and Teddy just at Billy's house. They're just like, what's going on here? And they're just like going at it. And then the parents find out. They're like, what's going on? It's like,
I like that moment just because they're like, so like, are you gonna tell your parents? Like, what are you telling me? Like, you know, and the parents are kind of overhearing, so they don't know the context of a conversation. And so they come out of nowhere and they're like, tell us what, son? What do you have to tell us? Like they think they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is also by Andrea DeVito.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of art change, which is it wasn't jarring, but it was like whoa, like it just took the eyes because it was a different team, colors, inker. Yeah. It was like whoa, like
it was a little jarring.
So it wasn't like it took a few pages, like
but it wasn't bad.
No, it's definitely not bad.
Like you look at this and they look like 5 years younger. So I remember it's like in the way, but it's like, and there's like we always knew you guys were a couple, and like we are.
They're like, yes, that's what we wanted to tell you guys. Like you
got us,
you parents, and you guys are too smart for us.
Yeah,
too
smart.
And they're like, get a load of this guy. How about them Cowboys? I hope
the parents are just smart. Yeah, we knew. We're hip with you guys.
Yeah, we're your age.
Like, you got no idea.
You can't get one on us.
That is the best thing as a kid. Is when you let your parents think that they know everything and they don't. And I'm just like, let's go. Like, you don't know me.
Yeah.
This is real quick. This next page, I'll let you talking, but it has to do with 2 characters that we see in the MCU. But I didn't really put it together, but looking at their relationship in this issue, kind of what had me hyped for Ant-Man 3. Because the stepdad, he's kind of like trying to prove himself. Yeah. He's a bit of a douche, but I feel like in the movie MCU, his intentions are well. In the comic, he's a little bit more of a dick, but my bad.
So yeah, we see Cassie at her home with her mom, and then obviously her dad, and she shrinks down, and she's like, because like they're talking about her, and the dad's just like, we're being a dick, and then the mom's like, well, maybe like this is for the better, and then he's like, well, she loves you like too much to really like come forward with this, and then Cassie just like starts kind of not really melting down, but she like, kind of gets a little bit of guilt to her, which is a little thoughtful. And then you got Eli, who's at his grandparents, and his grandfather, him and his grandfather share a moment because he sees what's going on with what his son is doing. It's because like he's like really the only one that's grandson is doing, and he like kind of feels honored. He feels like like what I did was worth it.
Yeah.
And then we get to the whole Vision fiasco and what's going on with Vision. But the whole point is like Stature and Kate meet up after, and they're like kind of sharing stories. Kate's like, yeah, like I mean, like I can hide. Like my dad's like super rich and doesn't really care what I do. Like
he didn't even know I bought these costumes.
Like, yeah,
like,
I bought all.
He's not even gonna know.
Yeah, like I will go out and buy. I will go to the Capitol Grill. Like I will go to Ruth's Chris and buy the whole restaurant, and my dad won't even know.
Won't even know.
Like I was like, it took me being on the news.
Yeah.
So, and then like they figure out like what's going on with Eli, and Eli goes after the same drugs that we saw him kind of dealing with in the beginning of the book, which was set up very subtly. And then they find him, and they kind of go after him, and we figure out the person he's dealing with is Mr. Hyde, who someone we have not seen in a hot freaking minute. Which Mr. Hyde is a cool character. He's not really gone into depth in this book, so you don't really need to know much about him other than he's a big guy who likes to crush people's heads.
Right.
Which this is a 2-part arc with Mr. Hyde, so it's not really like he's important, but he's like, he's there. He's like he's not as dark as Kang, like the villain being bad like Kang. It's not like, because the stakes are different, because we're not really dealing with that whole introduction. Okay, now these guys are legit. Like, these guys are legit, but now how can they face themselves outside of the costumes? It's like, how can we already established them as who they are in the costumes? How can we really establish them as what we want them to be known for in the longer term of their history?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Captain America shows up at Eli's house, and that was a little bit awkward because you have 2 Captain Americas, and one got cheated by the system. One got
read truth for that. Yeah, definitely.
And I do kind of want to emphasize that because, like, yeah, it is retcon that the first Captain America was African American, and it got kind of shut down. And we saw this in Falcon Winter Soldier, and kind of how one person of society reaps the benefits and the other one kind of suffers. Gets and it's like you look at the MCU. Look at the MCU right now. Who creates these stories? Who gets the credit for them? Right? You have the actors put their heart and soul into it, but you also have like producer. Even you have like not even concept designers, but like lighting people. People just go on the sets for lighting, making more money than than people like Bob. Like I don't know, not Bob. That's a poor example, but like Will Portasio, someone who created like Bishop. Someone who created like a lot of characters that we see on screen, right? Or even who's someone else who's
or case in point, you would think someone like Ed Brubaker, who created Winter Soldier, as cool as popular as he is, and as much as the movies. I mean, even though it's a Cap franchise, obviously he's got a coolness factor to him that people enjoy Winter Soldier.
Right, but
he got paid like $5,000. That's it for them. You would think.
Or Steve Englehart. That's what I was thinking of. Steve Englehart, friend of the show. Fun guy to talk to. But also, there's also like a racial issue addressed in here that it would be like really foolish of us not to bring up. At the time when Captain America was created, this is in the golden age when there wasn't, when it was Captain America was really created for World War II to kind of inspire, so that people could have stories at home, or so people can see what's going on in World War II. Captain America was literally made for military propaganda, and he just became it was to get the United States into
into the war, because Captain America
And
1 came out before the United
before
States even got into the war.
Right. That's how you maintain a war, is when you have the public support.
Exactly.
And that's why they pulled out of Vietnam like the way that they did when Nixon took over, is because they didn't have the people's support anymore. And then the Pentagon Papers came out and all that came, but I digress to this. That's not my history. No, that's not me, like, who studies American history coming into this. But the whole point is like, the whole point is not like saying, okay, this is a white versus black issue. It's saying this is how the time period was, and this is kind of how we're gonna address it, how it affects modern day society.
I mean, it's realistic, because it's kind of like the what was it? Not the Tuskegee experiment, where they're given
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were experimented on. They were literally experimented on. Yeah.
Yep. And without their knowledge, and it kind of against their will, it's they're trying to have a correlations to reality. This kind of type of stuff probably would have taken place. If they're trying to come up with the perfect super soldier serum, they got to make sure it works first.
I strongly recommend reading Truth. For that. That's where Isaiah Bradley comes from, and it's a very, like, it's not for young audiences either. It's a very strong story, but it's worth reading.
Absolutely.
Kind of shifting the tone to like a more serious matter, like this really is a serious topic that they introduced when the two Captain Americas met, because at the time period, I wouldn't say today's society is 100% white and black, but back then it was. Back then it was very segregated, and like you saw color and that's what you were, right? Which is a shame. And as people like, and it's very important for us to be mindful of that, so we are better today.
Absolutely.
And this issue is a constant reminder of kind of seeing one person reap the rewards of what you started because of your physical description, So, but to really pick up on that issue that we're going for, we see Eli, and then the Young Avengers come in and they go, Eli, and then we go on to issue 8. This wasn't exactly the biggest mic drop that we've had. This is like the more lackluster, because it's like there was such a powerful impact a few pages before, and there was so much truth. And even like the next cover, you just see Isaiah Bradley just like, he just wants to prove himself. That's really it. He wants to be what the system did not let his grandfather do.
Right.
That's it. That's his whole character. And the beauty about Young Avengers is it speaks to that audience, and it's so realistic. And even if you guys go back and you rewatch what we talked about with Miles in the Bendis show today, the reason why Miles is colored, is a person of color, is because it fits that time period. It fits the time period. It fits. You look at someone who's even in America today, more people are POC than white, or more people who are in like the middle class or even below the middle class are POC. So it makes perfect sense for Miles to be Afro-Latino, right? Yeah. You're not going to tell, there kind of is that white privilege, You look at a white person and you see, okay, this is their stereotypes. You look at someone at POC, you see their stereotypes, right? As people in today's society, we got to move past that. But Miles does fit, like, okay, this is what people have to look up to in this time period. Yeah. But definitely we were more in depth into that conversation in a previous episode, so make sure you guys go check that out as well. But we figure out, the team figures out that Eli does not have powers. And while everyone else is fighting Mr. Hyde, and then we just get a lot of good action sequences, it's still the same artist shift, which it's not great. Sucks. I don't want to say it's. Sure,
no, it's a big contrast to Jim.
It doesn't compliment Jim Cheung at all. It doesn't. And it doesn't say, it's like you're so used to reading the same style for like a few issues, and you just get this, you're like, oh, I want that one.
Yeah.
So, but we do get a lot of cool stuff. I don't like how Mr. Hyde in like a few panels looks like he's probably the size of like Shaquille O'Neal, and then he looks like the size of an elephant in the next, and it's like, make up your mind, buddy. Like literally like right here, right here, boom, he looks just like a big brute.
Yeah,
he looks like a big brute, and then you flip to when Kate, and I'm like, that's not what you just did a few pages ago. Yeah. So just like there's a lot of inconsistency in the art right there. But they end up defeating Mr. Hyde. We go over and we continue the moment between Steve and Isaiah's family.
I mean, it's an issue because we find out that, like you said, he didn't get his powers from his grandfather, so the powers he's been exhibiting are from the drugs we mentioned earlier. It was kind of a serious topic. We call it MGH, but it's pretty much called mutant growth hormone, and if regular people took it, they'd get powers. I don't remember. I thought like when they took it, you weren't guaranteed which powers you were going to get, but maybe he found some guy that had like, just super strength. But that's, if we find out that's how Eli's been getting his powers, is he's been, the drug dealers he's stopping, he's taking their stuff and using the supply.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it goes along with your genetics too. I mean, he is the grandson of someone who's been, whose literal genes have been manipulated into being a super soldier. So he does have a little bit there, which kind of leads into him with powers later. So yeah.
And then we see that we go to the Pym family and we figure out that Cassie is taking Pym particles, and her powers aren't natural either. So that can actually harm her blood. Jessica Jones sees on the news that Mr. Hyde is attacking the Young Avengers, like they confronted, and so she's like, I gotta go. But then we get some more sequences of pure horrible proportional art, or like unproportional art, and then apparently by the end of this issue, Isaiah Bradley looks like the same size as Mr. Hyde. He didn't even take the drugs yet. So I don't know. That just looked weird. And then we flip here, and he looks like Godzilla. So great, go for it. But it's just a bunch of action sequences, and then the Avengers show up, and Hyde gets taken down, and Eli wakes up to the Vision, kind of giving him the medical treatment, and so that's really where we're at. And him and Captain America have a little heart to heart, and then he's like, I'm leaving, I'm gone. And then we have a backup story by Keith Giffen about the Howling Commandos, which fine. I want to read it. I couldn't care less for it. But then we go over to issue 9 as I'm just kind of scrolling back because Marvel Unlimited just doesn't reset the issue. And now we're back to Jim Shang. And this is kind of how they're going to move forward with all the drama that they just went through. Right? All of that self-discovery that
real quick, sorry. The one shot takes place after issue 8, actually.
Okay, does it really?
Yes, yeah. Because we I just was trying to, but we see a little panel right here, and it's like, because we saw last issue, Eli left the team. Jessica's kind of talking to Eli right here about why he left the team, and because he has no powers and stuff. Just a little. I don't feel like it's crucial, but if you guys want to go over it,
it's cool. It's worth reading.
Okay. Yeah. It's worth checking out for sure.
Right. So, did you want to go over that?
It's more or less just kind of gives you deeper motivations as to why the team, like what their life was like before they became Young Avengers. Because we're not really privy to too much information on that during the series, but this one shot kind of shows you what they were doing before Iron Lad found them and what their life was like, what led to that decision of them wanting to become Young Avengers. But that's just a little bit deeper information on those guys, but and then we can go on issue 9.
Right. So we're kind of dealing with the ramifications that previously happened. We see Cassie and her mom share a moment, and they're kind of distant. They're very distant based off everything, and it's really like, what do we want to do moving forward? How can we live with ourselves? How can we live with our peers? And now that our parents kind of know, how can we move forward? So Kate's doing what Kate does. She's fencing right now. She's training. But we start learning about Hulkling a little bit more. And this issue is very significant because a squirrel comes down to take Billy away. Right, and he's in his human form and it's like in the public eye. And the super scroll comes down and he's like, I'm coming to take you home. And the super scroll is basically a combination of all the Fantastic Four's powers just built into one scroll. Right. And then he's like, I'm not a scroll, I'm a mutant. And he turns and he shapeshifts into kind of what we see him known as today.
Yeah.
And he gets taken away. Right. But Stature grows, kind of brings him in. And then the Skrull ends up winning and taking him away. So then they have to go and save him, right? Which is what we're going to be doing going forward. And we find out that Billy's mom is also a Skrull, but it wasn't actually his mom. It was a Skrull sent down to protect him.
Yep.
Right? Who is working for his mom, which is a more lore that we're going to get into later on. This issue was basically just setting up more lore of Teddy's character. And Teddy thought that he just lost his mom, but he's like kind of questioning himself right now, which leads us into issue number 10. This is where we go and we sit down with Jarvis and Vision, and they are they're playing chess, and the Young Avengers, they kind of come in, they update them on the situation, and then they end up going to go save him, right? At which point they find him, and they find him in this building, and so they're fighting through everything, and then the Super Skrull, he shows up again, and he's kind of recasting his history. So we learn that through the dialogue. Like I said, this series is very dialogue heavy, and that's how you're really going to establish some of these characters. And then the Kree come in. Then the Kree come in, and that's the big mic drop. Is you're not just a Skrull. You're a Kree. You're a Kree. And then Hulkling just like, well, what the F am I, man? So that kind of leads us into the 11th issue. Not a whole lot goes on here.
Real quick, last issue, we did get one more addition to the team. They broke out Speed to try to...
Yes.
They needed some help. Yeah, they were member down, so that... And, they kind of acknowledged the connection between him and Billy, but they don't elaborate on it too much, and it takes us right into issue 11. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, it's drawn by Jim Cheung, and then we learn about, okay, well, your father was a Kree, your father was Captain Marvel, right? And because you're a male, technically, right, males are predominant, which means even though your mother's a Skrull, you're predominantly a Kree.
More Kree, yeah.
You are more Kree by law, by nature, but we really haven't seen a lot of his Kree side.
Right.
Because he really hasn't been in his human form. He's really been in his shape-shifting form, I guess you can say, because of his strength, he's a Kree. Yeah. But really, you could achieve that same strength by shape-shifting into the Hulk. So there's really a lot up in the air about that. But we learn about kind of more history of the Kree Skrull War. It gets retconned in here. So if you're a fan of that, definitely. But you don't necessarily need to read it to understand this issue. We just get a big Kree Skrull breakout over who gets control of Billy. And then at the end of it, it really gets solved by him and Wiccan kind of take everything down, and the Avengers show up, and shit gets real.
Like, we got your back.
Yeah,
and it's pretty much an all-out brawl. Next issue of
Isaiah gets hurt, or Eli gets hurt, and Captain America feels he feels pretty bad about it, so that was how we mic dropped that issue. Is Eli gets hurt pretty bad, and for him to, especially like on those pills,
with no power. I don't think he stopped taking. He was just winning.
He stopped taking. He stopped taking them.
So Cap goes to get Eli home, and we're still this is like the big final. This is the last issue, so we're dealing with everything. We get this big throwdown of everything. Right, this is a very action-packed, heavy issue for the first half of it. And you even see the Avengers Tower, which is like, now you can see how it progressed over time, because now it kind of has this addition to it, the tower that we saw during the Dark Reign and all of that, and in that side of Avengers Tower. So this was probably the most creative panel layout I've seen in the Young Avengers so far, because this book was very easy for new readers, but this issue gets a little bit harder to read just because of how compact some of the panels are, but also like how unorthodox they are at the same time.
I agree.
This book was very easy to read for newer readers, just because it followed a very universal format. I think that's the right word to say. It followed that universal format of like simple grids, simple layouts, but this one got a little bit creative. So you can see how that's a little bit more difficult to read, but we're still continuing with the action. We got Wolverine, we got Spider-Man, we got the New Avengers crossing over, so that like we are in an era. We're in the Bendis era, basically. And then Eli wakes up with his family, and we get kind of like the concluding thing And Kate Bishop is like, yeah, I'm kind of like the leader, like she kind of speaks out and she kind of takes responsibility for the group. She's basically like the showman of the group. She's their spokesperson.
And we also the self-fulfilling prophecy, not really, but you know how Eli told him he got a blood transfusion in the beginning? He ends up getting a blood transfusion from his grandpa because of the wounds he received from the final battle, and gets those powers, becomes super strong.
Becomes Patriot,
becomes what he was trying to do all along.
Yep.
And then Jessica hands her a letter saying like for Hawkeye, because at this point Clint Barton became Ronin, so someone needed to be Hawkeye.
Yep. She proved herself.
Right. And then Billy and Wiccan share a moment because they're trying to honor the memory of his mother. And
who you thought his
real mother,
adoptive mother.
Yeah, his adoptive mother. So we get her ashes, and then Speed comes in, and they're like, "Oh, Tommy!" Yeah. And then he's in uniform, not paid by the Bishop family though. Not really getting that sponsorship, but then we get like, oh, they're in action, and we're like, oh, we're gonna see what's next. And they're in their uniforms. We got Kid Vision, we got Wiccan, we got Teddy, we got Patriot, we got Speed, and then we got Hawkeye. And they're on this big awesome shot. Then a backup story that no one gives a crap about, but that's the ending of this book.
There they are.
Yeah,
there's the team.
Squad.
There it is. Squad up. That's the book, you guys. I personally highly recommend it. I think it's a must read, especially if you want to get into these characters in the MCU. Marvel's going to reprint this trade. They already have an omnibus coming, but
absolutely,
this is a trade that is going to be on every LCS's shelf, and if if it's not on their shelf, then they're not a good LCS.
Hey,
do you have it on your
I'm
shelf?
Not arguing.
Michael?
Of course.
Thank you. See, mine doesn't.
It needs to be. But that's exactly what you said. It's like ridiculously easy to get into. It's easy to read for any kind of new reader, whether you've read Marvel forever or you've never read Marvel at all, or any kind of superhero book at all. And it's really good because it connects with you from you've been a teen, no whether you are a teen or not, or you ever have.
Absolutely.
It's
good. You can identify. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Right. And it like I said, like we kind of said earlier, this book is really good at capturing the different voices of these characters. And by the end of this book, you look at how much they matured, right?
Yes, right. Yeah. Absolutely.
They're learning. And how they're able to deal with adversity. Yeah. And that's something teens go through is how do I do stuff on my own? How do I not kind of lean on other people? How do we become independent? That way when I go out and live my own. I'm not faced with the same adversity as fighting aliens or fighting Kang or fucking or some shit. But how do I deal with a professor who's basically can be a Skrull or a Kree, depending on your professor,
I did really like their growth because they actually felt like a team at the end. Yeah. Nowadays, a lot of teams are together, but it's just names thrown in a hat, and this is the squad. There's really no organic flow to some of these teams.
They all have their back. That's how I feel at the end, especially
right.
It's a good team.
And as the reader, you gel with this team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, you gel with it. It's like you vibe with them. That's really this word. You vibe with them. Heavy, right?
Heavy vibe.
It's a dope book, man. It's a dope book, and these are characters that are here to stay. I know you guys didn't like Empire, but they did get aged up a bit in Empire, and
they did. No,
stories were told
good
very
story
well
bits.
in Empire.
Yeah.
Teddy and Billy are gonna be huge in the Marvel universe after their introduction, which is the Young Avengers.
Absolutely.
They become extremely important.
Prominent.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks that they never really got their own series. They get one shots. They're in other books. But
never, that's interesting.
They have yet to get their own series,
which is crazy because Teddy's now the king of the emperor of the universe,
right?
Basically, right, the biggest empire of the universe, right?
That's ever been,
That's a pretty big deal. So.
I'm sorry, but this is one of the best. This is one of Marvel's best couples, most
exactly
well-received couples.
Yeah,
I was gonna mention something like that. It's not only good for story wise and art wise, but it's great for representation as well. This this is not just a throw to the LGBTQ community. They had so much thought behind it. Their characters were drawn out. They could feel their struggle of trying to come out to their parents, come out to each other, but also be true to each other and themselves. Billy and Teddy is a really good.
It's a powerful relationship. It's a very powerful. Yeah. It wasn't sometimes in
it's not
comics,
pandering is what I'm trying to get.
No, it's not pandering.
Not
it's not pandering, and a lot of times when you have storytellers who do pander, it's like okay. Or when they draw like interracial relationships of like POC, it's like, oh, you're this race, I'm the same one. Boom, we're together. That's kind of what I felt like Black Panther and Storm was. Sorry, but
Sure.
I mean, but they're both okay with them. They're both.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
God, a goddess, a king, like it's.
Yeah, they would.
I don't like it.
They're higher beings anyway.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
See, but see, here's why Storm is just better than everyone. But anyway, that's a different story.
Well,
but
you're not gonna. I'm not gonna argue.
But like
that
even
at
like
all,
some
of course,
LGBT
yes.
characters in Marvel is like, okay, or even like some ways that writers, when writers kind of write Dake and kind of what he's been doing, right, with other like male partners, like, oh, you're gay, I'm gay, we're gonna do it. I'm like, that's not how it works, guys. See, that's not how it works. It's come on, you know, it's not like a guy. It's not like Jean Grey and Cyclops got together like, oh, you're a guy, I'm a girl, I like you.
We're together.
You're attractive. Oh my gosh! And then Jean's like, you're an idiot, Cyclops. I didn't like you anyway.
In your dreams.
But, yeah, right.
No.
Exactly.
In your dreams, Link. Jean Grey's in your dreams. But you know, like this was great. This was very well done.
Yeah,
you know?
people should be reading this book.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed a lot of people are more familiar with the champions right now because I think it's like Marvel for the longest time had this thing like if a writer made big strides with a character, only they could really do stuff with those characters. Like Brubaker and Winter Soldier, like, you know, other people use the Young Avengers, but you would never see anything significant happen to them unless it was Alan Heinberg behind the pen. You know, they've kind of, and he was busy writing TV at the time, so he couldn't really write too many comics, but they've kind of veered off from that since then. And I feel like they should give the Young Avengers their own title because we've seen the champions and like they've been rebooted like 3-4 different times since 2016. So I think YA deserves another reboot. Maybe like an amalgamation of both teams, champs.
Sure.
And I don't even know why that they don't like Wiccan and Hulkling don't have their own series yet, or like have their own miniseries. Like, I feel like it's a missed opportunity right now because like you could do it. Like you could have. Like, there's so much to tell. There's so many stories, and I'm sure
they show up. Like they
I'm
were
sorry,
just
but Steve Orlando is in Marvel to stay right now, and I want him to work on those characters. I really do. I mean,
they showed up on the recent ending of Guardians of the Galaxy. They whenever anything has to do with space, they show up.
They're there, yeah.
And I was like, but Aoyun did a great job with that, and I was like, I'm sad that book is gone now, but you're gonna see him in Sword because they're all part of right now. So like
again, anything to do with space, they're
and that's how Ewing's wrong. I'm sorry, you're gonna see them in Venom. I want to see Wiccan and Hulkling really cross paths with Eddie. I just want to see something fun happen there. But anyway, that's right. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Archives, guys. Missing Link killed it on this.
Thank you.
And
I'll get better. Thanks for taking the other half.
Oh, no worries. But we got 3 Jokers coming up next. So here are our thoughts of how poorly that book was done and. Other than that, I believe after we're going to be doing Heroes Reborn, probably Heroes Reborn, and maybe another book that I had in mind. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. But I think Heroes Reborn is high on that list. And I think we're also going to be doing kind of Swords real soon, sooner than later. So Michael's like, oh,
no, that's some good stuff. It's some really good stuff.
You know, so like I said, if you guys have any books you guys want us to review and kind of jump the list, drop it down in the comment section below. When Saga returns, you know we're bringing that to you guys. Michael's like, oh,
he announced it's coming back, right?
Yeah, they're working on it. Yeah, they're now working on it. Both Fiona Staples and
I heard
Brian K. Vaughan like posted on either their Twitter or Instagram. They're like, yeah, we're working on. That either means they're just starting or like they're almost, like I don't know.
I remember when you said they were taking a small break, and a small break turned into 2 years.
They promised us a year. They promised us 1 year. Now it's been 3.
So when I talked to Eric Stevenson at GalaxyCon 2 years ago, I said, so when Saga come back? He said by the end of 2020. I think with COVID and Fiona Staples having a baby, it got pushed back a year. So absolutely. I think they were working on it. They just were waiting for the right time.
I don't think it has anything. I don't think Fiona Staples.
I think a lot of people
putting the problem. I think Brian K. Vaughan first
with
off,
Paper Girls and all that.
I love Brian K. Vaughan. Before I say this, I love Brian K. Vaughan. I love his writing, but like he writes and then forgets where he's going. And then he I think this is what happened because Saga, for me at least, it was on a constant upswing. There was no lull in that storyline for me. It was just consistently
always
good.
Elevating, yeah.
And I have a feeling that Brian K. Vaughan kind of like lost track of where he was going and wanted to continue that process. So he's like, let's take a break. And I understand
Get
that.
reacclimated.
But then, he finally got Paper Girls going on live
Runaways.
action, and Why the Last Man finally got its live action adaptation, and so like he's now really been pushing all his like other media, and so like that probably got put on a back burner a little bit, which is unfortunate.
Also, make sure you guys check out the Death Metal review we did previously. That was a fun time as well.
Yeah, it was good. That was
good. Michael led that. So again, if you guys have a specific book you want or a specific person you want, whether that's me, Michael, Link, Bryce, you guys know Bryce, or who else is part of the show? I think that's it right now for us, for our little ragtag team. And then when Brian comes back, obviously when Brian is more available to do this, Brian will be here. We love Brian here on the channel.
He's great.
So
yeah, he's amazing.
This is your archives team. You got a bunch of pillars to comics teams. That's what we want to bring for you guys. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Like I said, subscribe, join the family.